of Tranche 1, Phase 3 of the Undercover Policing Inquiry. I'm joined with Eveline Lubbers from the Undercover Research Group again. Eveline, what did you make of today?
Well, it was much more interesting than yesterday, which wasn't too difficult.
Everyone said that today.
Yeah, really. Well, we're so relieved that we've got someone who actually talks. Although he's very confused sometimes because his name is on the documents that he really can't remember, very essential documents. There's essential events that he fails to remember happened on his watch, which is quite weird.
He's also not searching for those. He's not trying to remember. He's like, nope, straight away, he doesn't remember.
Yeah.
For anything which is controversial.
Yeah. So, like I said before, like sometimes he takes a pause. And then he goes, no. So that he sort of thinks, am I going to say something about this or not?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to remember. Yeah. So there's interesting body language there. He's very much still a copper, a member of the police family, as they put it.
Yeah.
There's a very weird contradiction between him insisting on not remembering anything, not knowing anything about the relationships that took place. Quite a few, people he talked to like twice a week.
I mean, it wasn't just the relationships; it was anything controversial, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, anything controversial he just didn't remember. So that very conveniently. Selective memory problems, so to say.
So I mean, the only thing that he did remember, which I thought was it was him talking to the magistrate. I mean, any sort of arrest or any kind of like, or right at the end with I forget the officer's name, who was Gary. I can't think. But anyway, who was in the NUS, became vice president of the NUS. Yeah. But for the most part, anytime anybody did anything which wasn't just normal, he didn't remember.
No, and there was, of course, the curious thing with Rick Gibson, as he was known as an undercover, real name Richard Clark. That he kind of, there's proof, there's evidence that he went up in the ranks of the Troops Out campaign. And he made it to sort of London convener, and he wrote minutes of very important meetings, and then he said this very curious thing about that he thought that Clark was not as important as he pretended to be, and. Yeah. And he also said like the strange minutes that he wrote, and then he was.
Just sorry, you haven't done it yet, but you're.
No, I know.
You're about to get to the point where.
No, I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah. So there was a restriction order today. Whilst we were talking about. There was a section of the day which was under restriction.
We can't repeat.
Yeah.
We were sorry, and that was just, but that was not what I was going to talk about.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
No,
but he, he was clearly kind of embarrassed by the fact that he did not know anything about the relationships, because that came back at the end as well. There were a few points on the day where he said, I thought I knew my officers. Apparently I didn't. He also...
he was naive, apparently, he said.
Yeah, and then he claimed that there was a lot, they talked a lot, they talked about everything, about their family, about stuff that involved the deployments. And they also, there was banter. Was this anytime sexual? No, what he says, maybe banter, but not about real things. He really drew a barrier there that he couldn't have known, he didn't know, and he literally said, I didn't know about this until the cat came out of the cat was out of the bag, and he was shocked. He claimed. And because, in fact, of course, this alludes to how bad a manager he was. That he claimed not to know about it, or they've decided in a way. Well, that was an interesting thing as well. He was asked at a certain point, had he knew it, would that have been a reason to pull people or to, because it is against the rules to have sex
on duty.
On duty.
Yeah.
So he said, he was asked, would it have been brought before a disciplinary tribunal? And then he sort of said, we would discuss that, but the implications of it would be that the SDS would be embarrassed, by which they mean the operation would be,
compromised,
would be compromised, and it would come out that the SDS existed. So this is a very important thing because it makes you think that maybe or probably undercover officers got away with stuff because there was a bit bigger risk of bringing any, disciplinary actions or involve the tribunal, because that would give away the existence of the SDS. So they didn't. So, this the one red line that comes out of all of this is that we did anything we could get away with as long as it wasn't discovered. That is sort of, they claim they didn't even think of doing illegal stuff. But, as long as they could get away with it, the embarrassment was if it would come out, and the embarrassment to the police. And then he was asked, what kind of embarrassment are you thinking about? And then he said, we would have been attacked in the press. So obviously, and that was really interesting. That was their biggest fear. Not anything else, not the harm they've done, or that they bent and broke the rules. That wasn't their fear. It was purely embarrassment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's this embarrassment word that keeps coming up again and again to do with the unit, right?
And it is not an embarrassment that in the sort of classical sense of the word of being ashamed. I think that's in my understanding of English, that is sort of linked, but it's reputational management. It's, that comes back again and again. That comes back why one of the undercovers during the Macpherson inquiry was brought in to tell the inquiry, basically, or tell the police about what was going on in the family justice campaigns, to know what they were up to, and to know, to make sure again that the police reputation would not be embarrassed. This is. It's not about doing the right thing or having done the wrong thing. It's the fear of it coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. I gotta be honest, my brain is a bit frazzled by the day.
Mine.
I'm
really surprised that I get to say all this.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add about today's proceedings?
No, not really. Although I think that he could have been pressed at points, like the many questions that were brought in at the end. Like at the end there is a sort of, all lawyers of all sides have the chance to sort of bring in questions on stuff that they found interesting or thought that the witness wasn't pressed on enough. And quite a few answers came there. I'm not I'm not impressed with Barr today with his follow-up questions. There were points where he was going to say more, and Barr didn't take it up, or didn't see it, or choose not to see it.
He was back to the rattling through his list, wasn't he?
Yeah. He's had better days.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and he slipped something about Greenham Common, which wasn't, officially this is the next tranche, although Greenham Common started in 1981. Why he wasn't allowed to say what he was going to say it's a shame, It's where the the golden nuggets come out if we let something slip, or as the stuff we're not allowed to talk about.
Yeah. So it's been a much more illuminating day than yesterday, but hopefully we'd hope for more than we got. As ever, tomorrow on day 9 we've got Angus McIntosh, HN244. Any preview on him you want to mention? He was
involved in many of the same things that were discussed today.
He was number 2 to Geoffrey Craft.
Although Geoffrey Craft can't remember that.
Yeah, that is weird.
Like really weird. He thought Barry Moss had been his number 2, but he can't. He knows Macintosh, but he can't possibly remember that he was his number 2, which is kind of weird. Yeah, but you know, like Meeting even tried to probe him on that, but he just can't remember.
There's a few other people in the room. Does anybody else want to join us for any recap of the day?
I'm sure you've all said it, but it needs to be said.
Fair enough. Lots of shaking heads. All right, well, thanks for joining us. I'll be doing a Twitter Spaces again tonight at 7. That earlier time of 4 was a terrible idea. It'll be 7 o'clock again tonight. Please join that if you've got any questions, if you're following things and you've got something you want to say, please let us know. All right, cheers. See you at the Twitter Spaces, or see you tomorrow. Cheers.